Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
To see you both. Let's jump right into it. Purdue, Minnesota. Purdue survives an 8-point victory over the Golden Gophers. 84-76 is the final score. Zach Edey, 24 points, 15 rebounds. The best player in the country performed as the best player in the country should. Kevin Sweeney, what did you learn tonight from Purdue, Minnesota?
Look, I think Minnesota was somewhat unique in the sense that we haven't seen a lot of teams try to single cover Zachy, right? I think they felt like if he beat them one-on-one, they were going to live with that, and they were going to try to outshoot Purdue. And they did in the first half. They couldn't keep it up for 40 minutes at Mackey. I thought it was a good performance overall by Minnesota. I'm not sure at the end of the day if it's the right strategy long term, because I don't think a lot of teams have the shooting that Minnesota does. I mean, they are very, very dynamic on the wings with Cam Christie and the Mitchell kid at guard has been really good. Hawkins has been great getting downhill. Like their guard play has been tremendous lately. And I think it gave them some matchups in this game that were interesting. But for Purdue, I think probably good for them to get tested a little bit, get pushed, have to hit that gear in the second half and put away a decent Minnesota team that's been playing good basketball lately.
16.5-point favorites tonight. Ultimately, they win by 8 points. That's just half of the point spread. John Henson, surprising or no?
A little bit surprising, but like we said, the strategy they use. Hey, we're going to try to one-on-one Edey, and that's how you're going to have to. I've always held steady, and I still do that. Purdue will get to the Final Four, barring just a bad matchup. I don't think there are a lot of teams that are going to be a bad match for them, but if they come across a team that can shoot the ball and hold their own defensively, I even look at a team like North Carolina. If Armando Bacot can hold his own a little bit and not just give Edey easy shots, and they can trade twos for threes, that's how you beat this team. And Minnesota, for the first half, the strategy worked. Purdue just kind of walked them down, out-talented them, defended a little better in the second half. And this game, even though it was a 7-point game, I mean, down the stretch, Minnesota was in this game the whole time until the very end. So, they had a good strategy, and it didn't come to fruition for them to win. But Purdue is probably one of the, if not the best team in the land. I think they got to be happy with this performance. I'm not saying they like more victories, but they'll take this one on the road.
Braden Smith from Purdue finished with 16 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, nearly a triple-double for Braden Smith. It's good to see him. He was on the Naismith watch list. He was not on the Kuzi watch list, so not good enough for the final 10 point guards, but good enough for the final 20 players of the year. See, Braden Smith was there. My question is this. Is there something matchup-wise with Minnesota where Mitchell and Christie both combined for 27 points in this game, guys that I think can attack drop coverage in a way that maybe Purdue doesn't see every single game, but Minnesota was capable of bringing to the table in a one-on-one matchup to keep this close. Is that something that other teams could replicate in March, where you put Zach Edey in drop coverage and you feast on that? Sweeney, what do you think?
Look, I think Hawkins' shiftiness is very reminiscent of a lot of the kind of mid-major guards that Purdue's had trouble with over the years, right? Like, he's able to get downhill, and then they space it so well that they can spray it to Christie, who moves great without the basketball. Mitchell, certainly, even some of their other wings. I mean, this Minnesota team can really shoot. And so in some ways, that's a matchup that, feels replicable for other teams. I think the thing that most teams in March won't have is they want to have the combination of that with really, jumbo bigs. Like, Farrell Payne is a big dude. He's not Zach Edey big, but he is physically imposing. Mm-hmm. And they brought in Jack Wilson to give minutes. He's a former offensive lineman at Washington State who's had this crazy journey to get to where he is, and doesn't really play for Minnesota, but had a minute or two there in this game, right? Like, Minnesota, I think, is somewhat unique in that they have the small guards and they have the real bigs. But look, I don't think today was some grandiose indictment on Purdue by any means, but I do think that if you're going to beat Purdue, it's going to involve guards making shots against drop coverage, and it's going to involve slowing down Braden Smith. And I think Minnesota did one of those tonight. They just didn't do both.
Henson, did you ever get hit with a guy who was just a football player who's like specially designed to give problems to John Henson? Did that happen?
I'm thinking back, I would say like Michigan State. That was probably the most physical game I ever played in my whole, basketball career. They had Payne and Draymond Green down there, and they had the other big fella off the bench for his name. He was coming off the bench, and they were like, those were football guys, right? Like they were built, they were strong, they rebounded. So, I look down the road for this Purdue team, like that Rutgers matchup, it's going to be at Purdue, but Rutgers is another team that matchup-wise, they can get Big Cliff down there, give Edie some problems. They've got the guard play. They attack. They can shoot a little bit. So, Minnesota had the right strategy. They just didn't have enough talent, right? They ran out of talent, like we say. But that Rutgers game coming up is going to be very interesting because I know they're watching this film, and they have the size down there. Like a guy like Cliff, I would have hated to play against when I was in school. Big, physical, just strong, athletic, going to beat you up the whole game. So that's what's going to happen for this Purdue team probably to lose. But then again, there's only so many teams, and guess what? In the NCAA tournament, you've got to play one of those teams, and that might not happen.
Yeah. Tough when you run out of talent, and Kevin Sweeney's familiar with that. When he parallel parks in Chicago, sometimes he runs out of talent. Hey,
we're doing this already, guys?
Well, it's early in the show, Sweeney. We'll see where we go.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.